Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome to Talk Sports. It is our weekend program, or Saturday Sports Special. As indicated, we'll be speaking with Mr. Carl Andall, who is, by the way, no stranger to our program, right? He's the principal of the MacDonald College in St. Patrick. And certainly, Mr. Andall joins us at a time when, we all started the conversation about preparation for the 2025 sports season. And most times when we say the sports season, we try to focus a lot on, well, that's the public, I should say, on just intercall, but forgetting there are other sporting activities taking place. There are other co-curricular activities taking place, I should say, not just track and field. Certainly, because of the duration, I should say, of the track and field season, very long. Normally that's the focus, but there is cricket, we have football, netball, basketball, wide range of sporting events taking place. So Mr. Andal will join us to talk about MacDonald College in particular, and certainly he wears a couple hats, so he might be able to dabble in a little thing about intercall and, and things like that. Because remember, the last time we had Mr. Andal in the program was basically to speak about intercall, right? He was there as the deputy. I think he's the deputy, right, to Mrs. Abel Jeffrey, right? So certainly he probably will talk about that. But the focus will be on MacDonald College sports, particularly in the Northern Parish, because MacDonald College, one of the two secondary schools in, the historic parish, and certainly will have rich history in terms of sports in the parish of St. Patrick. My co-host, Mr. Rudian Silvan, is also with me. Let's say good morning to Rudian, and also Mr. Andal, who is standing by. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Pleasure to see you.
And good afternoon to Mr. Andal, because he's in the afternoon. So,
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Andal, let's start off by saying what can we say so far for MacDonald College regarding, and I say sports, because I know, as I indicated, most times people try to focus on just the track and field, but sports in particular for MacDonald College for 2024. So before we go in looking at 2025, let's sort of look back at how MacDonald College performed in terms of their participation and performance, results oriented for 2023 into 2024.
Afternoon, Mr. Bascom. Afternoon, listeners. Afternoon, Mr. Sylvan. How are you? Right. As you said, 2023, 2024, 24 into 25. It has been a very good season thus far. And most of the emphasis is on athletics. Last year, 2023, as per usual, we made it to the finals of the secondary school football tournament. This was our sixth finals. Unfortunately, we lost, but we have the distinction of winning 4 titles out of 6. So the last 6 tournaments we had, we were able to win 4 out of the 6 tournaments. Unfortunately, this year we are out of the final after at least 10 years, but we are happy with that because we are still in the rebuilding process. That's for football. Cricket is literally non-existent as we speak. We have some teething issues with the Ministry of Sports that we have to work out. And I must say this is unfortunate because when we look at cricket worldwide at the moment, it's a very lucrative sport. So this is something I'm trying to work out with the Ministry of Sports. Athletics, which athletics what ignite the most passion in everyone. This year is our second year returning to Intercall since 2018. And we had very creditable performances. We were able to place 6th in the female division and 5th in the boys division. So in a nutshell, that was 23 to 24. 24 to 25, I must say we had a very superb start. We started this season with our National Cross Country Championship, and we did extremely well. For the very first time out of more than 20 years, we were victorious in both the male and female division. So as we speak, we are the champions national cross country in both male and female division, having outstanding performances in all categories. Some names that come to mind, we had our senior girls who were very dominant in the person of Peaches Panchu, who plays first, as well as Francesca Henry. Then we also had outstanding performances in the male division, senior category, Aquino Reden, who plays third, Michael Thomas, who plays second, Roger Cummins, who plays third. What is interesting to know is that most of our athletes, as we speak, Mr. Bascom, they are grandchildren of McDonald College. And let me explain that. These are the kids of a lot of our former athletes. I'm really waiting for Mr. Sylvan to send his kids back to Grenada so they could represent McDonald College. So we are doing extremely well. The performance of our athletes in the national cross country is testimony to the amount of preparation work we have been doing. We are now in the preparation phase. And as per usual, you know we are powerhouse in football. So anytime you hear the word McDonald College in secondary school football, persons know they are dealing with something good. However, I must say in 2024, something happened to us that never happened before. We were defeated by one school on 4 occasions. Can you imagine that? So our senior male team, we played Boca Secondary on 4 occasions, and we lost on 4 occasions. So this year so far, we have played Boca Secondary in 2 finals, knockout finals, as well as the Champs of Champs. We also played them in the semifinals of the preliminaries, and we have lost. So kudos to Boca Secondary, who are doing extremely well in secondary school football. However, our girls team have made it to the finals once again, together with our junior team. So as we speak, the finals is scheduled for next Friday. That's the 29th of November. And 2 of our teams will be featuring there.
Mr. Andall, you made, and I want to clear that up quickly, about the issue with cricket, and as someone who, well, as a principal, as one who deputized in terms of intercall with regard to track and field, it's sad to hear about the cricket aspect, and it's probably reigniting our discussion some time ago regarding whether or not the Principal Association should really try to get some of the other sporting disciplines almost to the level of track and field. We know that that's the powerhouse of sports at secondary schools. But if that's a concern in terms of the cricket, and we have so many young, talented cricketers, do you think it's time then that probably the principals that should start looking at some other sporting disciplines that can come under the ambit of the Principals Association, Games Association, just as track and field, probably cricket and probably football and netball or whatever? I'm just a concern, just a thought I'm throwing out there.
We have preliminary talks where this is a concern, but to me, it is not as simple as most persons think. In our situation, it is be extremely difficult for the principals to take cricket and football similar to how we do athletics. Personally, we need a collaborative effort that would involve GAPS, the Principal Association, the Ministry of Education, as well as the Ministry of Sports. Cricket and football require much more resources than athletics. Athletics, we have 3 days of intercall, which is held in one venue, and to me, it's kind of easier to pull off.
Right.
The football and the cricket, it will take a while.
Multi-venues, yeah.
Yes, one of the challenges I see with the cricket, though, it comes right back to CXC. Because I don't know if you know, Mr. Bascom, I was a national selector for cricket for many years.
Yeah.
Right. And what I've realized is that CXC, I'm putting part of the blame on CXC. In the past, let's say 10, 15 years ago, CXC used to start in August, sometime June. Right now, the CXC exam starts in April. So what we're looking for here is a window of opportunity to play the cricket. in days of Tyrone, Sampot had been, even with El Crony and others, we used to be able to pull off 3 tournaments. The Independence tournament, which starts in February.
Yeah.
Right. The United Insurance on the 15th tournament, as well as the senior tournament. The United Insurance tournament normally starts in April, which is the beginning of the second term. And we had enough time for that tournament to be played before the guys go off to prepare for the exam. Now, as we speak, it is extremely difficult because there's a lot of competing sports. Intercollege in April. The kids will go home in April. As they return for the third term, by 1 week, we must have our final assembly and send them home. So personally, I'm advocating for a sit-down with all the bodies I told you about, because we have to make adjustments to suit our situation. One of the things I have in mind, though, is to ensure that we play some of the cricket during the Easter holidays when the kids are at home, and even play some of our games on Saturdays. Because it's a travesty, but Mr. Bascom, when I look how lucrative cricket is, in the past, to make money in cricket, you have to be representing the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of millionaires sitting around who never played for West Indies. But you have IPL, you have BPL, you have T10 cricket. There's a lot of avenues for persons to earn a good living in cricket. So I think it's really important. I would speak to the Minister of Education as well as the Minister of Sports for you to have that sit-down to ensure that our cricketers are not disenfranchised.
Yeah, fully agree. Rudian, and by the way, before Rudian, someone is saying that about it's Thursday, Mr. Andall, the 28th. Apparently, some date you mentioned.
Well, listen to that. And she's so correct.
Right.
Our original schedule was Friday the 29th, so that kind of stick in my brain.
Oh, okay.
But initially, I had to call the organizers because Friday the 29th is my school fair.
Oh, okay.
So hence the reason why the tournament was put up, the finals were put up the Thursday. And that's
Good.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, well, you know, they always have people that watching your back. Big up MDC, Romeo Spartan, Martin Alexander. Well, Martin probably just coming here to give you talk, Mr. Andal. He's saying good morning.
I know Martin about. Tell us something about him, Mr.
Yeah, I know he's just saying good morning to you. And congratulations, McDonald College, Paige, Baptiste, Devon Charles, Ernest, DJ Copper, Alexander, and I assume these are people who might have, and I know Devon Charles, but I assume the others would have been people who have represented McDonald College some way or the other. Okay, yeah. Rudian?
Yes, stand up. So it's always a pleasure to see you. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you and McDonald College on the debate. I know it's back-to-back years. You guys are getting on the podium in third place, I believe. So that's really good. Definitely what you and the staff is doing in McDonald College is left to definitely a testimony to everything that we have seen, not only in sports, but also in education and in academics. So just continue doing that good work for you and your staff. Cricket. Well, also, I know you say you're going to speak with the two Ministry of Sports, and how about the Olympics? Because now it's an Olympic sport. So how can you get the Olympic Association involved as well with cricket? Because certainly it's an Olympic sport now. So I think that's something you should look into as well. Because there's avenues for cricket, like you said. And we have a lot of this youth sitting down there, and the fact that cricket is not in school is very disappointing to hear that. And certainly, I don't like to hear that at all, because it is a big sport. And secondly, or thirdly, in the cross country, you talk about how well did you do winning the championship. This is really good. Where does that put you your distance program for Intercol?
Mr. Silvan, you want me to let cat out of the bag?
No, not necessarily. I'm just saying, when you see performance like that, it shows that your distance program is good. So that's really what our church trying to.
Without a doubt, and you are part of our program, and that's always our base, and our program is always endurance based. So as we speak, we started training in August. And sometimes it doesn't matter when you start, but it's just your ability to motivate the kids and keep them focused. Personally, I know it put us in a really, really good place. However, though, one of the challenges we face though is that a lot of our athletes are footballers. It's a challenge, but it's also a plus. So they coming back into the program now. The football season is coming to an end. It's a plus for us. We have also been doing some work on our field event because for many years this is one of our areas of weaknesses. What I have attempted to do also is to get a good team of teachers together, coaches, mentors, the whole works. We have a technical staff. I must say that we are focusing on the holistic development of the kids. So we will not leave any stone unturned. So as we speak, we have a diversity of persons on that committee who will be responsible for the spiritual, physical, even the academic development of our athletes. So I'm very excited, but as I say, I don't want to speak too much because personally in 25, I want our performance on the field to speak for itself.
Speaks for itself, yeah, certainly.
And to me, the start we had in the cross country should be an indication of good things to come.
Let me ask you a final question again, concerning the full recreation ground. Someone bring it to my attention some time back. When you see there's a lot of other events happening on the grounds, do you see that there will be a problem hosting the track and field games at the grounds in terms of how the ground will be leveled in the near future?
Well, it's interesting to talk about the full recreation ground because as we speak, there is no full recreation ground. I don't know if you're aware of such.
Yeah.
Some work was started on the playing field sometime June of this year, and it's ended prematurely around August. And from then to now, the field is overgrown. There's a lot of loose dirt on the field. I have spoken to both the parliamentary rep for St. Patrick's East and West. I've also personally called the Minister of Sports, and I was told that would be looked into. As we speak, we're in the month of November, which will be coming to an end in a few days, and nothing having really changed. So what I have done so far, I have done some preliminary work at the Mali playing field to facilitate our training and such. But regarding Sports 2025, I'm very hopeful that quickly some work will be done and we'll be able to have the use of that facility.
Certainly.
Yeah, and concerning about letting things out of the bag, when we have people like Martin Alexander tune in, you have to be careful. When you have people like Martin Alexander tune in,
they got their pen and paper. They have their pen and paper ready.
Martin, good morning. Your good boy Toro is saying GBSS winner of the debate is tired of winning everything. We are considering other schools competition, including intercall.
Welcome, Mr. Deputy. I always see you. And as Julian said, I don't know if Bascom, we could see it's evident that a lot of activities, school activities, certain schools in Moscow. So if you realize you have in the finals yesterday, you had GBSS and you had SAS. Third place, you had Grenada College. Come in the football finals on Thursday, we still have SAS featuring in 3 finals, Grenada College in 2, Boca in 1. So obviously, at these schools, the culture is very, very similar.
Yeah.
And as I was telling one of my good friends at the GBSS, I have very good friends at GBSS, starting from Principal Kenny James. I believe we fully understand what education is about.
Yeah.
Education is just academic. Education to me is anything, any avenue you could give a kid to do well. It's
right.
Part of their
education. Yeah. But as a principal and one who's also deeply involved in sports, not just the track and field and the cricket, but even at the football, you're as a vice president of the Football Association. Do you think that in terms of the rivalry and thing, even I should say the clean and healthy rivalry does well for the psyche of the participants for the various schools.
Participants, when you're talking about the athletes themselves,
The athletes themselves, like the footballers, the cricketers, the netballers, even when the supporters,
well,
the former students,
to me, the biggest concern for me with the rivalry is the supporters. Because personally, among the current teachers as well as the athletes, it's healthy rivalry and it's very clean. Can you imagine last week I played my good school, brother school at Paul's. We just give them a little 2-0 that's the GBSS. And the atmosphere was very, very nice. Mr. Martin Alex was present together with Mr. Nicholas. And as I told them, it's always a pleasure to defeat the GBSS. But so it's very of concern though sometimes is the supporters. The supporters don't really understand that, hey, when you go to play, you must respect your opponents, one.
Yeah.
And win or lose, you should not make any excuses, or there should be no acrimony among the different schools.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a good place. We're in a very good place.
Martin say, here you now. You say that's where you most, And Roger Duncan says, good afternoon all. Special good afternoon to my brother Carl. That's Roger. Yeah.
So let me ask a question because I have to run out soon. So I'm gonna jump in the gun a little bit and go ahead. We see that GBSS is looking to go to the Penn Relays. Here's a question for you. Do you think it is worthy or worth for your principal association to have a second games, excluding the intercol games, where you could probably get high schools coming from other Caribbean islands for have a 2-day games instead of people traveling to Penn Relays, going to I understand the Penn Relays and going getting away and so forth. I don't really see the benefit of it because it's not individual events. It's a relay meet, but you having the games home where other islands could send a team and they could run other events. Do you see that as benefit or something you guys thought about or want to look into for the near future?
Well, you must always remember that we have the Windward Island Secondary School Games, where our athletes get to compete against athletes in the Windward Islands. If we want to extend it, it will take a more planning and resources per se. But I would disagree with you with Penn Relays, Mr. Silva. The Penn Relays, despite the fact that it's a relay event, is extremely beneficial to our athletes. And I will tell you why. Can you imagine you are a young lady, a young man, young woman, and since in September, we are saying to you that, listen, we have plans to take you to the Penn Relays. You know what that will do for them in terms of motivation and focus in training? And that's, to me, that's where the benefit lies.
Well, I get that. I get that aspect about it, and I understand that part about it. But in terms of the competition-wise, is what I was looking at.
They do have individual events too. They remember the field events, individual events like the throws. So they have the javelin. They have because in fact, just to add, most of the Grenadian athletes who are in schools in Jamaica, their participation mainly is in the field events, right? Even though they're representing the Jamaican schools, but they are in the throws. We have a couple of athletes, like from Caracou, for example, who attend schools in Jamaica. They are in the individual events, the throws, the javelin, shot put, discus, the jumps. They have a lot of these, apart from the relays. So it's also an avenue where, as Sir Andall was saying, for this level of competition, albeit it comes with a cost. I think he understands your point about the having them more at home in competition. But there's the Windward Islands games, even though there have been calls to expand it a bit, just as how we have expanded OECS netball to include Barbados and Trinidad. The invitational aspect in the Windward Islands secondary school game, for example. So when it comes to the track and field, You probably invite some schools from Trinidad and Barbados and others outside of the Windward Islands. And they even, in fact, even on the program here, there was a call for expansion to the OECS, as a matter of fact, because there isn't Leeward Island secondary school games. We have the Windward Island secondary school.
Windward Island, yeah.
So why not invite
the Leeward?
Or expand it to the OECS secondary school games, where you'll have Antigua and St. Kitts and all of them being part of it. But again, these are all things that can be discussed, but as well as considering the cost factor, especially with, you know, by the way, it might be easier for you to travel to the Penn Relays than for you to travel
within the Caribbean. Within the Caribbean. Yeah. No, you're so right. You're so right about that. Yeah, you're so right about that.
Yeah, Mr. Bascom, this year, the Whitsuntide Games, we had participation throughout the Caribbean.
Right, yeah.
The Whitsuntide Games with Meridian, we had a lot of participation.
Yeah. It's had almost 200 athletes alone.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. So
enhancing it, yeah.
So I agree with you. We could start building small on what we call the Windward Islands game, and eventually we could go OECS and see what could be done.
Yeah.
However, though, one of the issues we have in Grenada, though, we too much intercol country.
Yeah.
Intercol country.
Explain that to the average Joe.
Right. I'm saying that sometimes we might have to push back intercol to all May, June. And I will tell you why. Anytime the intercall is over, in terms of the fans and the support, all the energy for athletics in Grenada is gone.
It's gone. Yep.
Yeah, and that is not really good enough, because persons have to realize that, listen, in April, that's only competition phase. And you know, athletes tend to do much better when they have fans, they have big crowds. But what I realize is that if intercall finish this week, come next week, you could have a big activity at the stadium, the patronage will not be the same. So this is something we are really, really working on, to see if we could get persons to support the athletics throughout the year, and not just as a build up to intercall, and as the intercall finishes as the climax, and do it until next year.
But that's one of the things I was also saying too. We just having an invitational games. Yes, I went to the Western Games, and I'm pretty sure it's still on. The Eastern Games probably as well. But having more games where you have more people coming out and support, I think that could also be a help. But only when you have your team selected, because I understand how the system works, right? Like I was saying last week, a kid can come into the school and say they want to run track. They're on the team. Because to go to the championship, there's a process. You have to qualify in several meets to go on, but you're automatically on the school team. You'll go to 4, 5, 6 meets, but then when it's come to try, there's a qualifying process to get to the high school championship. In Grenada, you have to have your school meet, and that's when 90% of a selection of your school team. So it's all about when you have your games, makes a big difference, but then having your games maybe a bit earlier, which put you in a position where you have your team together, so you could have more school meets. Like Magan College have an invitational relay meet. Just it. Now again, it's time. It's time. You have to get permits. It's a lot. It's not just like let us have a meet. There is more to it than just let us have a meet. You have to get the volunteers. You have to get. There's a lot to go with it. But that would be something. Would be nice to see. More schools having the meet earlier and having games in between, so that people can go and support. I think that would be helpful, not only for the fans, but also for the athletes,
all right,
especially relay teams and so forth.
I know you have to log off and then hopefully log back in.
And then log back on. Yeah.
You have a question for?
No. Listen. I'm good, Mr. Andall. I just wanted to say that. Listen, Magna College is Magna College. We never will go down. We're only going up. We might get knocked down a little bit, but we will forever be strong. We will ever be competitive. We should forever be pushing and striving. And we definitely have the support. We never give up. We always pushing. We always giving. So Magna College all the way. In my blood, from my mother all the way up, it's in my blood, and it will always be that way. Mind you, my house is almost 100 meters to Magna College, so it's right there, So definitely, I will be a Magna College until I die. And Mr. Andall, let's see the kids. Let's see how it works. retirement. I'm thinking retirement already at this young age. So let's see what happens. And so we'll be coming back. But I'll be back on in a bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll see you on soon. Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's 2 against 1. No problem. Yeah. Right, brilliant. So let's go. Yes. Oh yes, MDC strong. And then Donna is saying here, yes, Michael, you are so right about that. Travel between the Caribbean is terrible. The cost and delays, and basically there isn't an inter-Caribbean airline that services the whole Caribbean. John L. Mitchell, should we then consider Saturday games to accommodate greater support and volunteers? And John L is one of your technical people, so over to you, Mr. Andall.
Yes, as you know, John L is the current director of the games for the last 2 years, and he has been doing a wonderful job. When we come to Saturday meets, the Adventist factor always coming. So that by itself, it's a barrier when we have Montrose SDA who will not participate on any activity on a Saturday. However, as I mentioned before Rudian left, we have to get rid of the intercol mentality regarding the zonal meets. Sad to say, the Western Games have not occurred for the last 6 years or so. This year we are trying our best. I'm trying to encourage the principals in the different districts to have that meet. I'm really hoping this year that we could have the Southern Games, the Western Games, as well as the Eastern Games as a build up to Intercol 2025.
All right. Before I go on to some issues regarding more of looking ahead of McDonald College previewing 2025 in terms of dates and whatever. There's some let me see. Athletics in Grenada need to be more insensitive, driven in, I think, insensitive. Well, yeah, insensitive. Oh, yeah. In helping athletes to get to training and able to afford transportation, even for the students that may have training during school, that they get remedial schoolwork in order that they don't miss out academically, right? And Roger says, I might be off track here, but I think we need to take the massive rivalry and support of the intercall track and field meet to the other intercall games like football. Play the football matches in the evening under lights. This will encourage large crowds supporting and contributing to major revenue. Imagine a Friday after work evening match, McDonald College versus GBSS. Think of both boys and girls football players playing before a crowd of 5,000 under lights. What you think, Mr. Andal? Because this is something that have been discussed before in terms of how can you get the other sporting disciplines some way up to the level of the intercall track and field, because it goes by itself. Track and field always be track and field, the rivalry, the support, especially on the last day of intercall, blah, 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 and things like that. So, but when it comes to football and other sporting events, even netball, even though once upon a time, netball used to be probably the big thing with McDonald College B team in particular, well, A and B against Anakin High School. I think you will recall those days of McDonald College playing Anakin High School in the final of both A and B, and probably all of St. Patrick tried to fit inside of the Tantine netball complex. You know, these sort of things. Yes. So those were the days. How can we see those days returning where outside of track and field, the football and the netball could be crowd pullers? What do you think in considering what Roger is saying about, having, after school, when I say after school, after work hours, where more people might be able to participate under the lights, even what John L is supporting about, Saturday, even though it might be some pushback.
So let's start with John L. Regarding the Saturday game. We had a preliminary meeting before the start of the football tournament, and Mr. Colin Peters, the coordinator of sports, he spoke about the Saturday games. Strangely, some of the schools who are not Adventist schools, they were not in support of this. And personally, it's really difficult to understand why. Most of our players in the secondary school football tournament, they play on Saturday. Because as we speak, we have the GFA under 17, under 20, senior tournament playing on a Saturday. And these players are actively involved.
And we have a women competition that should be playing now, I think.
Yes, correct.
Right, yeah.
So most of our players are involved on Saturday matches. You see, there is a lot of advantage playing on Saturday or after school, as Mr. Duncan alluded to. As we speak, come next Thursday, the finals begin at 10. First final at 10, second at 1, third final at 3. Most of the working public, they are in the workplace. And employers will not give them time to attend the games. So, to me, we need a change in mindset among our people. That, hey, secondary schools, we could play after hours. We just ensure the children are secure. We have transportation to carry them to and from the match. The Saturday games, the parents at home, the well-wishers at home, because the rivalry is really, really intense. And you could see it when you look at social media and the comments and the back and the byplay between various schools. However, this year's tournament, all the finals are played at Progress Park. And as I spoke to Ms. Jeffrey before, I expect this year's tournament to be one of the biggest in terms of crowd support.
Right.
Can you imagine we playing at Progress Park, McDonald College versus SAS, SAS versus Boca Secondary? I expect St. Andrew to turn out, as well as most persons in St. Patrick. And as we speak, Boca have an extremely large following. Right. But all I'm saying here is that sometimes you get the feeling that there is a disconnect between the Ministry of Sports, the Principal Association, and the schools. So I'm advocating that at the end of this year's tournament, Ministry of Sports, GAPS representative, as well as the Ministry of Education, we have to sit down and plan as seriously to ensure that we maximize. So the support is there, but we just have to ensure that we maximize the support and we make it easy for the parents, well-wishers, and the general public to support the kids during these matches.
Well said. Angus Samuel from the land of the Leapers. We see high things.
Yes, that's MDC alumni.
Yes, I know fully well. They're on board. Donna is saying, but Mr. Andall, when some of those student athletes who merit for foreign scholarships get outside, most times they have to participate on Saturdays, and they do it because of what's at stake. Some of our Grenadian parents who are Seventh-day Adventists will make all kinds of hooplas locally, but once their children get to foreign scholarships and their kids have to participate, you never hear them make any noise. The point she's making, which is a fact, in that at colleges in the United States, whether it's NCAA, whether it's NJCAA, the junior colleges, a lot of their sporting activities on weekends, in particular, Saturdays. Like, for example, today, I just look, for example, on a Saturday, average Saturday, from early as 9, 10 o'clock in the morning till 9, 10 o'clock, depending on which part of the US you are in terms of the time zone. You have college football. I'm talking about the American style football. You have basketball, both male and female. And you have our football, which they call soccer, playing throughout the day on a Saturday. They try to get as many of them as possible. But even though they do have during the week as well. And then when it comes to track and field, a lot of the track and field on a Saturday in any event. So the point Donna is making, and which you have been making, to kind of, it baffles, where it's a mentality.
I have a story with this concern. Nisha Bonner Thomas.
Right. I'm alumni of McDonald College, right? Yeah.
Seventh-day Adventist. When she just started at McDonald College, I know of some of her relatives who were very reluctant to get her to participate on Saturday. And Mr. Glynn always make reference to one of her grandmothers who stood up and said, listen, Nisha, you're participating. There's not anything wrong here that you're doing. You're participating. And henceforth, we end up seeing Nisha's development at the end of the day. So personally, I won't get involved with this religion when this is concerned. But I must say is that you have to respect person's views and person's ideology. However, when the Lord tell you that man was not made for Sabbath, the Sabbath was made for man.
Point taken, Mr. Andall. Yes, you rest your case. So looking forward, and you raise a concern there regarding the 4 recreation ground. So my question to you is that how do you intend, or how you hoping to have your McDonald College annual athletics championship come 2025, and whether or not the date is set already, what information can you give in terms of the preparation and the logistics, bearing in mind the condition of the playing field?
I'm extremely hopeful that the playing field would be ready. However, you cannot just live in hope. I already have other options. If the playing field is not ready, without a doubt, the sports would go on. The sports would take place. But I'm still advocating. I'm still talking to the different persons out there to ensure that the field is ready. If the field is not ready, we have other options that we will explore. I must say, though, that more than half of our students come from St. Andrew. So we are not just a St. Patrick's school. We have students as far as Guave and as St. Patrick's, St. Mark's, as well as St. Andrew. So we will not just sit, if the field is not ready, we will not just sit and cry and say, well, we cannot have our sports meeting this year. That will not happen. My tentative date is February the 21st or March 7th of 2025.
Okay, right. So we'll, folks, keep that in mind. February 21st or March 7th, you said?
Yes, 2025.
Yeah. February 21st or March 7th. That's the alternative. 2025, the annual athletics championships of the McDonald College. In terms of some of the preparations, do we have the inter-house championship starting already in terms of various events and things?
Yes, we have already started this year. I must say there's an initiative that I took from one of my rival schools, one of my favorite schools, the GBSS. Over the years, I noticed GBSS have what I call a mini cross country. And I saw it as extremely, extremely important. So this year, we already had our mini cross country sometime in October, where we do not really give points per se, but we give kind. So in that case, the children are treated to some malls as well as lunches in the tuck shop. They enjoyed very much. So we had our mini cross country, we had our road race so far. So the other activities that will take place is our cross country, as well as our road relay, and then we'll start our field events. Everything is in place, despite the fact that the fall recreation ground is not ready. As I said to you, I've been working with the Ministry of Sports with Mali. So most of our activities will be done at Mali with the field events. And obviously, if we have to have hits, the field is not ready, we will go most likely in Progress Park.
Oh, okay. Because Michael Parag is just saying, so Michael, he just answered your concern there. Yes. So Andal, I passed it for yesterday, and it's a disgrace. What are the principals doing to speed up the process? Because nothing has been going on for quite a while. Well, I don't know if it's correct to say what the principals, because I don't know if you all can do much than to make an appeal, you know? Yeah, to make an appeal. But Michael, he just said that they are continuing, you know, the appeal and the discussions with the, you know, the relevant authorities, with the hope that something can be done as quickly as possible. Bear in mind too, we are also in the rainy season, so whatever they're doing, they have to bear that in mind, because you know
that's the rainy season. Mr. Bascom, rainy season. We're not in the rainy season. I don't know what season. Perhaps the monsoon season.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well,
the amount of rain we have received this month so far, it's really, really a lot. But strangely, regarding the fall recreation ground, you know, initially persons was asking what GFA is doing, and I had to correct them, because it's the Ministry of Sports who is taking the initiative regarding fall recreation ground.
Oh, regarding the ground, okay, right. And
yes,
then under this new thing, yeah, that's true. So it's quite interesting, and hopefully that things will be in place and ready, at least feasible enough for the McDonald College to have the athletics championship.
And when you say McDonald College, persons have to understand
the primary
McDonald College, Montrose SDA,
right,
St. Patrick's Anglican, St. Patrick's RC, together with St. Patrick's Parish Sports.
Right.
So normally that's the premier field in St. Patrick's. So a lot of events take place there.
So Andal said, Andrew, people will welcome your students to the Progress Park if the fall grounds are prepared. We go support the athletes.
Ms. Joseph, I know that, and as I said, more than half of our student population is from St. Andrew. So we have big support in St. Andrew. There's no doubt about that.
All right. And Toro saying thanks for giving GBSS credit. Yeah. Outside of track and field, Mr. Andall, regarding Mark. So what else? I mean, you mentioned cricket already in terms of, the I don't even know what to say. The disappointment, I wasn't even aware, but you brought it to our attention, and then it just flashed back, this has to be true because we haven't been hearing anything regarding cricket. What other sporting discipline would the McDonald College be concentrating on outside of the track and field come 2025?
The thing about it, we participate in all the disciplines perhaps except swimming. Swimming hasn't really catch on us yet because we don't have any suitable swimming pool in the north of the island.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our basketball ballers who started it. They played there yesterday. I think they got a blowout from PBC. Then we have our netballers who they are not doing so well as previous years. And what we notice is that the issue with the netball starts from the primary school in St. Patrick. There is no active netball tournament in St. Patrick for the primary schoolers. And this is something we have to address because persons have to understand the grassroots in each sporting discipline is extremely, extremely important.
Important, yeah.
At the secondary school, you get the kids 12, 13. By then, the basic fundamental in most of the sports, they should already have it. Mm-hmm. And at the secondary school, you build on that. A lot of the kids coming in to McDonald College when netball is concerned, and the first time they know about netball is after they enter school. So this is a challenge that we have. I know we have the National Sports Council as well as the Parish Sports Council, and I trust that emphasis will be placed on the development of all these different sporting disciplines. So we play basketball, netball, volleyball. We also play doubles with some table tennis per so. But by now we realize that the three major sporting activities in Grenada as we speak would be the track and field, cricket, football. Yeah.
And you made an important point because we can see it, for example, in track and field that because we do have a program at the primary school level for our track and field athletes in terms of the parish sports and all these sort of things that it's having that sort of effect, okay, especially for the our athletes. Now, as in the case, because there isn't a netball tournament, right? Because there isn't a netball tournament, you find that these netballers, well, I shouldn't even say netballers, they're learning about netball when they enter the secondary school. In terms of the track and field, they come in as athletes, track and field athletes with the basic, because they would have been competing at the primary school level, whether it's St. Patrick's Anglican, whatever it is, whether it's St. Patrick's parish sports, whatever it is like that. So they have that level of experience. The other sports, they don't. Well, probably football, I think. I don't know if you may be able to correct me in terms of football. Probably the grassroots programs that the GFA will have will probably be a sort of, turning stone for those folks. So it's important for the grassroots programs, for the various sporting disciplines at that level. And hopefully, just hopefully, that with the Sports Council, right, that this may be something of the past and something that we may have to look at. By way of information, folks, I can tell you that in terms of the National Sports Council, the Board of Directors, it has been officially gazetted now. I have the information here. The Gazette information came out published in the Gazette on Friday, November 22nd, which was yesterday. Let me just tell you, Cabinet at its meeting on the 23rd of September approved the appointment of the following members of the National Sports Council for a period of 2 years with effect from August 1st. The chairperson, Mr. Patrick Simmons. The deputy chairperson is Mrs. Narissa Celestine James. And the council members are Mr. Dwayne Noel, St. George Parish Council, Mr. Charlton Henry, St. John Sports Council, Mr. Akim Thomas of St. Mark Sports Council, Mr. Chester Noel, St. Patrick Sports Council, Mr. Javin Noel, St. Andrew Sports Council, Mr. Justin Courtney, St. David Sports Council, and Miss Ayana Bartholomew of Caracou and Petite Martinique. So those are and we also have, Mr. Colin Peters, who is representing the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and Mr. Dominic Jeremiah, the Ministry of Education. I forgot those two names. So those are the members of the Board of Directors of the National Sports Council. It would be the chairperson, Mr. Patrick Simmons. The deputy chair is Narissa Celestine James. We have the representative from all the parishes, including Caracou and Petite Martinique. There is also a representative from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Mr. Colin Peters, and then Mr. Dominic Jeremiah from the Ministry of Education. So hopefully all these issues will be things that we will get sorted out. Hopefully, I'm really hoping. Thank you once again, Mr. Alvin Clouden, for that bit of information. Rudian is back up. Thank you, Rudian. Ms. Raybon is saying, I'll take note. Certainly, remember, the 21st of February 2025 and the 7th of March 2025 is the alternate date for the McDonald College Sports Meet for 2025. And we also understood that the concern will be whether or not the field will be ready. Remember, we almost at the end of November, so we just have December and January, basically, because if you're talking about February, and it has to do a lot. I mean, I don't know, I'll probably get some photos and videos of that, but it appears that not just the word of Mr. Andall, but there are others who came on and said that they saw it up to yesterday, and it is in a disgrace. That's the word of Michael Pariag, for example. It's in a disgrace. So it's not that Mr. Andall is making up something, it's a disgrace. So the hope is that we'll get that sorted out. Mr. Andall, anything else you have on your calendar for 2025?
Before I continue with the calendar though, you spoke about track and field, and I must say one of the reasons why we're doing so well in track and field is because track and field has the best program on island, where you have kids in active competition since the age of 2 or 3. You see, Mr. Bascom, you're a sports journalist, but I must say I'm a big advocate of sports because I've seen the tremendous benefits sports could have to our young people and help to transform their lives. I have been engaging the Minister of Education regarding the reintroduction of a lot of the different sporting disciplines at the primary level. So as we speak, there's no football tournaments at the primary school. This year, for the very first time, they had an abbreviated cricket tournament, and obviously there's no netball tournament. Personally, that's a travesty. And when those things happen, the young man or woman who might be able to have a career in this discipline, you are depriving them of such. So this is cause for concern. As I said, I keep on advocating. I hope I could talk to Patrick Simmons and others. So eventually we could get through that through the Sports Council and the relevant sporting associations. Regarding our calendar of events, some of the activities we'll have to play them by air. It's a very good thing that we are blessed at McDonald College with a standard size playing field. So in the meantime, we'll be able to substitute and do some of the things that we normally do. I am hoping to start my field events the first week in December, complete field event first week in December. And I trust that at the end of these programs, the relevant persons out there could hear or apply at McDonald College in St. Patrick's as a whole and ensure that the work to be done at the four-playing field is done quickly so that our sporting season next year would not be disturbed.
All right. Rudian, welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. I have a question for you, Mr. Andall, quickly. 2 questions. Well, one is a concern, and my concern is not seeing a lot of the sports in the elementary school. So it's a real deep concern. because the future is the young kids, and we see that grassroots is not happening in schools now. So, what is the advantage and disadvantage of kids transitioning from the elementary school to the high school compared now to 20 years ago?
Well, I don't know, but sometimes in a lot of things we take a backward step because Rudian, I knew you as a primary school kid, and since then we saw great potential in you. Persons like Devon Smith. The first time I've seen Devon Smith played cricket, he was about 13. And since then, I tell myself he had potential to make the West Indies team. And the list goes on. One of the main concerns for me at the primary school is that a lot of the persons at the primary school, their whole attitude towards sport is negative. And I would say that with no apology. When you talk about involvement of kids in sports, persons will tell you that if the kids participate in sport, they will lose a lot of contact time. Some persons don't see sport as part of the curriculum, and that is extremely sad. In my opinion, sports is part of the curriculum, and it should be pursued actively, like everything else. I don't know how we reach to that stage, but obviously changes must take place because you might have a kid who they could be the next Lionel Messi, they could be the next Ronaldo, but yet still you deny them the opportunity because you're telling yourself that if they play, the fallacy that kids who do sports would not do well academically, it's time for this thing to be over. Because as we speak, at McDonald College, we have too much examples of persons who do well academically and they still do well in sport. So this is a change this is a backward step that we have taken as a nation, and it's really, really time for this to stop. I look at Anderson Peters, Kirani James, and others after the last Olympics and how the nation embraced them. But someone asked me the question a few weeks ago. We have to start asking ourselves, where will the next Anderson come from? Where will the next Kirani come from? Kirani did not just appear at secondary school. Since Kirani was in primary school, persons who knew him saw the potential then. So I'm in full agreement with you. Unless we don't ensure that the grassroots at the primary school is strong and vibrant, after a while, we'll be finding it very, very difficult to produce top sports people.
So I'm going to stir the pot a little bit here by asking, do you think the wrong people is in the wrong positions?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but personally, what I'm trying, as I said, I have discussions with the current Minister of Education, David Andrew, where even though the wrong person is in the right position, what I'm advocating is that certain things has to be mandated. It must be mandated. Something I must address also is that it's time for the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Education, they put the right persons in terms of each, in my opinion, each primary school, each secondary school should have coaches, persons who could drive the program. It makes no sense that you go to Intercall and just a few schools are doing well, all because they have their own program that they develop. We must see good programs being developed in all schools on island. Because our pool really is very, very small. So for example, a child in St. Mark's Secondary, a child in Wesley College, who have athletic ability, should have an equal chance to develop compared to a child in SAS, Magdalene College, or GBSS.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And certainly, again, like I said, continue doing the great things. Looking forward to be a part in everything that you guys are doing. I have a plan here. Me and you will talk about something I want to do for sports, for our sports games, and we'll talk about that in the near future. But certainly, continue doing what you're doing, Michael. It was good having me on today. I just have to run out now. My ride is here, so I will talk to you guys again.
All right, then, no problem. Thanks very
All right,
much.
then, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Just to wrap up on some comments coming in, we need full-time coaches into the primary schools. Too much expected from teachers who teach a full class, all subjects, whole day. That's from Roger Duncan.
But Duncan is not just the primary school, both primary and secondary school.
Because I assume that's the same thing. We have the teachers are the ones who drive in the process at the secondary schools as well.
Very much so. Very much so. So you should have a full-time coach, a sports teacher, I would say, who receive all the training in different disciplines. And the main responsibility is to drive the sporting program.
But when I was in school, Mr. Andall at the GBSS, that was the situation. So I'm wondering how things have changed now, where we have the teachers doing everything, because we had what we call a games teacher. We had, whatever it is, Mr. Spicy Wilson at the time. I remember Mr. Loa was there before and things like that. So, and they were specifically responsible for the sports program at the school, because they were trained specifically in the various sporting disciplines, as you said. They are the ones who will go to the various training programs, etc. Since then, I realized you have mainly the teachers that are behind the process. Few schools may have, a coach or so outside of the school that is assisted, but in most cases, we have the teachers. Even when the school going to play a football game, the entire management team of the school will be the teachers, and things like that. Since when we got to that position, is it because of cost? Or what can you explain as a principal?
I would not say cost. To me, it's all about priority and the will to do the right thing. Because that's why I said, when we have sports people who do well, I'm not very interested. And that's why you'll never see me in a motorcade or anything like that. You'll never see me in a motorcade when one of the sporting icons return home. Because what I'm interested in is that the investment on the ground.
Yeah.
The investment have to be twofold, you have to be threefold. Mr. Bascom, to have a good sports program, the schools, we have to invest monies that we don't have. Gym equipment, running equipment, sometimes even food. Because a lot of our good sports children, based on their socioeconomic background, you have to feed them. You have to feed them. You have to clothe them. And so there's a lot of pressure on schools. And I must say, schools are the one who's driving sports in Grenada. Personally, and I could say that here, I think it's time that the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Sports, they give schools a special subvention. Two things: either give school a special subvention or the necessary equipment. So we're involved in cricket, football, athletics. We have to find the resources to drive these programs.
That's a very important point being made. So that's the case with that. What's about, and this is separate to your point you've been made about the subvention, etc., etc. In terms of your alumni association, I know there's one in the New York area. If you have to ask them for any sort of support for 2025, what areas you'll want them to concentrate on? Probably just off the top of your head, I am not sure you have anything that you formalize yet or whatever. I'm just assuming. But it's something I asked regarding the GBSS, for example, and obviously the alumni concentrating on the pen relays, for example, getting the team to the pen relays fundraiser or whatever. But what sort of program you think you have in mind that you will want if an alumni association is interested, or as a matter of fact, anyone outside, they don't necessarily have to be from the alumni association, anyone who's interested in assisting the McDonald College, for example, what sort of areas you will want them to concentrate on?
Well, first to correct you, we have 2 alumni in New York as we speak. We have the original alumni, and one emerged sometime last year with people like Marcus Julian and
Troy. That would be the younger set, right?
All right, that's the younger
set. I'm more familiar with the old schoolers.
Good.
But that's good to know. Yeah.
And so far, for this year, they have donated sleeping bags, running spikes, starting blocks, and such. Our needs for athletics is insurmountable, because it's a combination. So you need food, you always need sneakers, you always need spikes, you need uniforms, because as we speak, we have only 1 set of uniform. And after a while, it become an issue when you have to participate in really mid national champs, Western games or so. You don't really want to use the same uniform as we speak. I have been in constant dialogue with them, and we are always open in terms of assistance that could be provided. As we get closer, we have to feed everybody. But right now, as we speak, since in preparation for some of the kids, in order to get them to prepare properly, we have to feed them. So our needs are endless, I must say. Thankfully, we have a good corporate sponsor in Grenada who has been helping us as we speak. So just sometime last month, we ordered at least 30 running shoes, that's sneakers now, to every student. So the needs of a good program. However, I must say the old alumni, they have been helping us constantly. For this year, we received some brand new graduation gowns. Most of the gym equipment we have at McDonald College, we have received that from the old alumni group. And I must say, perhaps without the support of these people, our athletics program would still be on the ground. We are extremely thankful to them. I must thank also Mr. Depredin, Mr. Toro Depredin. A few years ago, he donated some running shoes to us, some spikes, and tell him, coming from a GBSS old boy and MDC, we are extremely grateful to him, and we hope he'll continue supporting us.
Wait, but I hope Toro ain't taking credit for his brother. Mr. Clem, that's probably.
Well, here now, I might be wrong, but it's a Depredin, and I know he's a GBSS old boy.
Yeah, you're correct in terms of the deputy GBSS old boy, his brother, yes. Clem. But Toro normally takes the credit as well, because most people know Toro. They don't know Clem. Most people know Toro. So he normally will take the credit and say thank you very much, thank you. But no, but that's good. And folks, in case you listening, and you do have, an interest, you want to support, as Mr. Andall said, you can reach out to Mr. Andall, you can reach out to the school. This time of the year, we have the free barrel program, I think. So you could probably just drop something in the barrel for the school, and just make contact with the school, let them know that you have some things, lots of things that you can probably support the school in its endeavor for 2025. There are various ways, or you can get in touch with Mr. Andall, and he probably can give you a list of some of the things that you probably can support. But that's good to know.
While you're there, this year for the very first time, we had both our male and female teams in camp. And I say, Mr. Bascom, going forward, we will not be traveling the 3 days of Intercom. We have seen the benefits of it. We have been camping on Grenada Road, close to the hospital. And you could see the benefits of it on the kids, where interval finish, they walk for about 10-15 minutes, have a shower, have supper, and go to bed. This is very beneficial to the athletes, because in the past, traveling for 2 days was extremely hard, but now they have to travel for 3 days. So this is one of the things that we're looking for. So sleeping bags, air blankets, and such.
Yeah,
all those things would be good for us.
Right. So folks, that would be a nice thing. Sleeping bags, the air beds and blankets and whatever it is, things that they can use for the school. And mind you, it's not a one-off thing. So once you donate it to the school, they can use it for various things. But particularly, it will aid the school in terms of its preparation, because, as he says, it affects the, and I always wondered too, especially the students from St. Patrick in particular, because it's not a matter of taking them from the stadium to the school, but taking them in most cases back to their homes, their various homes, right?
And listen to me. The funny thing about it, when you're about to drop a child home 10 in the night, and you drive, and eventually the road ends, and then you still have to stop and walk with them.
Wow.
Even you're the teacher who not performing on the days, you wonder how the kids tend to do it.
Yeah.
So initially we started with our girls in camp, but this year our boys camp, and personally we saw the benefits of that. Yeah. I must say that after the national cross country though, a few of my fellow schools start feel threatened, but tell them they have anything to worry about.
Yeah, well, by the way, and congratulations, because in fact I didn't even get to speak a lot about that, but McDonald College did pretty well in that. So let's we have a few more minutes, but let's talk about that. I mean, what it is that is it we seen a resurgence in because, by the way, I should say too that gone many years ago, most of our distant runners or outstanding distant runners came from the parish of St. Patrick in particular. Well, when we talk about dog, you know,
yes, and
Charles,
many
you know,
others.
McDonald College and many
So
others.
it's a good thing you brought up that, because I it will be remiss of me to speak on this program and don't mention our long-standing coach, Mr. Neville Glean.
Neville Glean, yeah.
Right. Mr. Glean is about 84, 85 as we speak.
Wow. And he still has a lot of he still has his tentacles, eh? Very
yes,
good, eh? Sharp.
Yes. So
yeah.
Even though I'm a level 2 coach, Mr. Bascom, personally as we speak, I don't do anything without consulting Mr. Glean. So from time to time, I would go to his home and try to pick his brain, because the experience that he has is not something we could just leave go like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actively involved. Sometimes he cannot come physically, but myself and the coaching staff, we would consult him and we'd follow his instructions to the T. And other than that, we have a bunch of kids to me who they are extremely motivated. They have been working hard and they have seen the results. So personally, kudos to Mr. Glean for he is how much? This year might be 50-something years as a coach. I don't know if you're aware that he was awarded at the 100-year anniversary of the Grenada Athletic Association. And personally, I don't know how he does it, but I know that come next year, he will be able to give us a week or two to sharpen up our preparation. So kudos, Mr. Glean. So we are extremely grateful for you and will forever be. While we're at that, this year to honor Mr. Glean, I took the decision as principal to change one of our houses. So for years we had Nayak House, which is greenhouse. And officially from 2024 onwards, Nayak House is now referred to as Glean House in honor of Mr. Glean and his contribution to not just McDonald College, but athletics as a whole in Grenada.
Mr. Roger is reminding us that Mr. Glean's dad is a founder of the Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited.
Yes, that is true. Myself and Mr. Duncan had some serious conversation about this.
Okay, that's good to know. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was glad for you to mention Mr. Glean, because I get to know more about Mr. Glean during the era of Nisha Bernard Thomas in particular. You know, yeah, during her reign. In fact, that's where I got a lot of basic information about Nisha when she was attending LSU. Louisiana State University. I had to go back, and the person I had to make contact with was Mr. Glean, who would have given me much information about Nisha at the time. Okay, so that's good. And Rondell Bartholomew is one who always, speaks about Mr. Glean, and things like that. So he seems to be someone who has a rich tradition, not just for McDonald College, but the parish in particular, that most folks will go back to or make reference to Mr. Glean. Some of your, did I get to ask you that the last time? But some of your outstanding alumni, old boys and old girls that you would probably want to mention. I mean, I know it's an exhausted list, but just off your brain, just call names. I mean,
yes, you're trying to get me in trouble now.
Well, I mean, we'll make an excuse. We'll say
because
just
I would call, and eventually we have some important persons who I not remember. But we have a lot of alumni who's very supportive, and I must say they bleed maroon. You see my jacket today? They bleed maroon.
Maroon. Maroon and not red. It's maroon.
Yes, maroon and not red. Good.
Yeah.
So we have persons like Daria Maras, who she lives in Canada. She was a former athlete herself. She was not a national athlete, but she's a former athlete. Jaslyn Hosten and others. Esther Philippe, Kizzy Thomas. We have an alumni chat which is about 250 strong. And Mr. Bascom, come sports season, it's very, very difficult to sleep.
Yeah. I can
No
imagine.
matter what time of the night, they would come up with something about sports,
Yeah.
right, on the chat.
And the various houses and all these sort of things.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
I could
Then
imagine.
obviously Bruce Wan, the Marcus Julian, the Anna Mitchell, as I said, I don't want to get into trouble because it's a very long list. You have my time before and just before my time.
Mhm.
But generally, yes.
But I was saying you have those honorary celebrities as the Devon Smith and others, right?
Yes. Although Devon Smith was somebody with athletic ability, but what he liked was football and cricket.
Football and cricket, yeah.
Yes, football and cricket, not running. But the alumni list is very strong. I must say, Mr. Bascom, this year is my 34th year at McDonald College.
Teacher and principal, right?
Yes.
34.
34.
Wow.
And when I tell persons that they would ask me, well, what age did you start to teach? By now, I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I'm an alumni of Montrose SDA.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that in
Right. But some persons don't know that because when I started at McDonald College, I was a mere boy. So a lot of persons still believe that I was not just a teacher, but I was a past student at MDC. And I must say the experience is very rewarding. I've spent, well, I could say more than half of my life at MDC. And personally, I bleed maroon. The persons in our part of the parish are very talented. And we have a lot of big people up here. So right now, if I show you my current football team, we have a lot of big kids who are just 15, 17.
All right, so just hold up in there on that, because Kevin Noel is saying that the past football coach of mine, Mr. Andall, has been very passionate about sports and discipline for a very long time. It is not surprising to hear the things he's echoing on the program. Best wishes to him and the entire McDonald College family. That's from Kevin Noel. So he's saying that you are a coach of his, right?
Correct.
And that's why I interjected there. So you continue about being your
Yes, Mr. Bascom, I don't know if you're aware, but I have a few championships under my belt. A few championships. So as a coach, so I have played a lot of different roles, and it's just true. Persons ask me sometimes, where do I get the energy from? So I have been at different times football coach, cricket coach, athletics coach. We work together with scholars to plan fairs and graduations or such. But to me, it's just about passion. And what I have noticed is that my involvement in various activities at McDonald College have really, really helped my development as an individual and as an administrator. When I just started many years ago, I just saw it as a passion, as a hobby. But now I'm realizing that serving in different capacities, that was just God's way of guiding me for my true calling. So personally, I'm very grateful to the school. I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've received. And I see my role as administrator now is just to pass on the baton and help our current teachers to develop themselves.
Well, it's interesting in terms of that, because Roger is saying 34 years. Whoa, let me pull my calculator to figure out Carl's age. Okay, but outside of that, right? Because you mentioned a few names there, right? And I'm saying even on the female side, for example, let's look at netball, because that's where I got to know a lot about, and that's where I had a sort of closeness with the school, because of you produce a number of national players. Collier and Gludd, right? Collier and Gludd, the Cato, Lapu Cato and sisters, and Katian Williams, who's also a national coach herself, and West Indies player, blah blah blah. So, and that's why I was trying to link with it of yesteryear, when we had that rivalry with the Advocate High School and the McDonald College. Even the St. Joseph Convent was not in that fray at that time. I'm talking about that few years where it was always a showdown between the McDonald College and the Advocate High School. Vida Bruno and the girls, and the McDonald College, with both A and B divisions, right? So you had these cadre of outstanding netballers from the McDonald College who moved on from the B to the A to national netball and in some instances West Indies, because we have two of them, I think.
Yes,
we have
yes.
Lottie and Katia.
Latisha and Katia.
Latisha. And then we have also the other Kato who's also coaching and thing now. So so you have just as probably the GBSS and SAS can probably point to some very outstanding alumni in various sporting disciplines. I think so too the McDonald College, because we have the Devon Smith, for example, for West Indies cricket, and then we have footballers, and by the way,
Shaban John Brown,
Shaban John Brown. But I'm certain a lot of people don't know that as good as, and I think you mentioned it a while ago, as good as Devon Smith is a cricketer, national cricketer, Devon Smith was also a national footballer. He played national football, but he just had that interest in cricket, like a Junior Murray, national footballer, national cricketer. So some of the very outstanding, you mentioned the Bruce Swan, the Rondell Bartholomew, we can go on, Nisha Bernard Thomas, Olympian herself,
Yes.
Quite a number of folks that McDonald College can be proud of in terms of outstanding sportsmen and sportswomen. We are hoping, and probably you can tell us that in the next few minutes we have, that we can see, and as probably Rudyard was said, who are probably our next future Olympians that we can look forward to from the McDonald College.
Where talent is concerned, this part of the island, we have a lot of extremely talented youths. One of the challenges most of them normally have, though, is that they are multi-talented. And sometimes the multi-talent that they possess could be a blessing as well as a curse. So for example, people like Marcus Julian, a main reason to me why Marcus did not really excel in any of the disciplines is because he had too much on his plate. National football, national cricket, national athlete per se. The challenge that we have here in St. Patrick, though, is to really harness this talent and to get the populace to understand that, listen, sport is no longer a sport. Sport is a way of life. Sport could be something that could transform lives and could create generational wealth. So that is my major challenge. Talent, we're full of talent. The place is abundant with talent, but it's just a matter of convincing the student athlete as well as the village and the relatives that, listen, whatsoever talent these kids are based with, is God's way of helping them to get out of poverty and going to another stage in life. How can we do that? We have to work closely with the PTA as well as closely with the community where they are from to get persons to encourage them. Because what I'm realizing sometimes is that at the school, we create a platform for them to do well. But sometimes persons tend to believe that they represent the school. I have even had cases where persons tend to believe that, listen, by representing the school, we, the school, would benefit. The teachers would benefit. The administrators would benefit. And there wasn't anything like that. We have invested thousands of dollars over the years in our kids, and we will continue to do so. And personally, once we get buy-in, there are current students at school who could reach just far, and I'm seeing a lot of talent at the primary schools who could reach just far. What I've realized, though, is that the kids need more and more role models. So, for example, places like St. David's, as we speak, would have an advantage over us because you have the Anderson Peters, we have the Lyndon Victor, who would be good role models for the kids there. But we want assistance. We want assistance from the community as well as central government. And we just about to transform life. So personally, that's my passion. That's my passion as a coach, an enthusiast, and even a principal, where I've seen kids come in, low self-esteem, poor socioeconomic background, and through sport, I'll be able to see that transformation in them.
Yeah, certainly. Melissa St. Rose endorsed it has to start from there. Thank you very much. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Andal. It has been a very, enthralling discussion, I would say. A lot of insights into McDonald College, a school that has, to say, rich history, just as the parish itself. you know,
Very much so.
yeah, certainly, and certain that they are very proud. Folks are proud of the accomplishments, the achievements of McDonald College over the years, despite the many challenges. Certainly. Finally, from you, what are your predictions? What are should I ask you that? What are some of your predictions? And when I say predictions, what you're hoping for, being probably pragmatic for 2025 in terms of our achievement in sports, and it doesn't necessarily have to be McDonald College per se, even though certainly you'll want to wish that certain things are positive on McDonald College. You probably can talk about McDonald College and then generally in terms of sports for 2025.
After the passion I saw in Intercol last year and sports in general, to me, 2024, 2025, it's something that we could build on. We know about COVID. We also know about Walk to Rule, and that has set us back by a few years. But talking to the different teachers, looking at the different schools, personally, I think we're on the right track. Obviously, we need the rivalry for the schools to do well. It's just a matter of keeping the kids focused, keeping them disciplined, and ensuring that they are developed holistically. As we speak, we have more and more opportunities for kids getting scholarships to go to the United States, where they could enhance their athletic talents as well as develop academically. So my advice to parents out there, the exploits of Kirani James, Anderson Peters, and others did not come by accident. It takes a lot of consistency. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of hard work. In my mind, we are extremely talented, just as the Jamaicans. As a history teacher, I have to do some research to find out which part of Africa most of our ancestors come from. But sports could help to transform lives. And my advice to everyone out there, from the time you have a baby or a toddler, try your best to ensure that whatsoever ability that they have, you create an avenue, you create a fertile ground to help the development. And that could transform not just your family, but the entire country as a whole. So all the best to everyone, and looking forward to a very competitive 2025 athletics season.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Melissa says we need full-time coaches in primary schools. Additionally, the community clubs need sponsorship for continuity. Another area for improvement is athlete recovery. We have some stars who succumb to their injuries and never recover. Lastly, we need to zoom in on the athletes and who complete secondary schools without scholarships. And,
right. I want to speak last thing about the last thing she said.
No problem.
I'm always advocating that when kids leave secondary school and they don't get a scholarship and they go to TAMCC, they should be allowed to participate at Intercol. Because we are losing some of our athletes at the age of 16, 17, which is too early. Because we are Intercol country, a kid leaving secondary school at 16, 17 without scholarship, after a while they are not motivated to train per se. So I'm an advocate. We didn't speak about that today, but I always advocate for TAMCC, even ULO, and some of these institutions participating at Intercol.
Well, folks, you heard from Mr. Andal, who is a principal himself and is one who never afraid to say it as it is. In fact, he hinted that in our last program, but I assume it wasn't probably the right forum for it. But I think we need a forum where we can discuss that openly in terms of the participation. And certainly Mr. Andal will be a prime person to lead that debate for us on a future program. Certainly, I think so. Yes, I see you stir up something there now, Mr. Andal. Thank you, Michael, for today's program. It was one of the best of all the programs for this year. Thank you, Donna. And it takes most of motivation from the parents, because some parents do not show that interest in their children when it comes to sports and lots of schools activities. Melissa say, yes, sir. Here is Clev. Clev is showing up now. Clev is. This is the deputy that you have to say thanks to.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Thank you.
You
Thank
see,
you, brother. Thank you.
where and how is Cici doing?
Sisi is at university as we speak. She had a slight injury, but she's recovering from that. So the 2025 season, we expect better things from her. But she's doing.
I knew she had this injury, so she had to sit out for a while to get that taken care of. Yes, that's so true. And a child attending TAMCC should be allowed to participate because who knows, sometimes that's where they may get the scholarship. Mr. Andal always frank great asset to this nation. So certainly, I think that is a nice segue for our future program where we can discuss specifically on the future of our student athletes after leaving secondary school, because certainly it's something that people have been advocating for, and it's glad to hear that you as a principal yourself have some serious concerns. And I'm saying that in the context of your disposition, not just as a principal, but someone who is involved in so many sporting disciplines at the level of administration and coaching, as a vice president of football, as one who does coaching in track and field and cricket, just name it, football, whatever it is like that. So there must be some sort of something you're seeing that others are not seeing, or just looking at just the blank stare, that we are losing too many of our talented student athletes. And we have to look at it in the context of what's available. Okay, we have X amount of secondary schools, we have X amount of tertiary institutions, so we cannot have a competition per se among tertiary institutions when there's just the TAMCC in its context, unless you get the St. George's University and other tertiary institutions, which is probably just
But before you conclude, when I was a student at the IFE,
IFE at the time, yeah.
Yes, 1987, we competed at Intercom.
Right, yeah.
With people like Jeffrey Neptune and
yeah,
Wagiti Redhead and many others. So it's like, listen to me. Well, we'll have the program soon. But when you listen to the reasons why some persons are giving for TAMC not participating, it's really, really myopic. Well, I would save the rest for when we have the program.
Yes, certainly. And mind you, I will leave it for you to basically moderate per se. I'm not sure if I'll be able in a position to moderate. I'll be on, but I'll leave it up for you folks. We'll get the guests and you folks will deal with it. But I want to thank you very much, Mr. Andall. Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Bascom, I must say it's always a pleasure being with you on a Saturday. You're one of our best sports journalists. I trust that you have some system in place to train young persons interested in that field, because mind you, without sports journalists, it's very difficult for sports to really go forward, because you must drive awareness of what is happening around. You must give our young sports people promotion. This is something that helps motivate them. A kid don't really want to do well on the field of play, and eventually there's no coverage of the exploits. So kudos to you. It's always a pleasure being here. Looking forward to the next program I'll be invited on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right. So that's Mr. Carl Andall. He's the principal of the McDonald College, and certainly giving us some insights into not just McDonald College, but he gave us a sort of overall picture of sports, school sports in Grenada, and some very interesting discussions, and some things that, folks, if you came on late, you may want to tune in. When I say tune in, just go back when it's finished and click the replay button, and you will hear some very good insights from Mr. Andal, his thoughts. It may not be what some people wanted to hear, I should say, but Mr. Andal is very frank, right? And he says what he thinks without offending anyone, but at least he gave his views on certain things that may not be, in line with the traditional. Right, he's not a traditionalist, as we will say. He's one that we will say the progressive side. Looking to see on the development side. He spoke about, for example, school sports on a Saturday. you know. At the same time, he says thanks to all those who have made contributions to the McDonald College and those who have intentions of doing so. You can contact Mr. Andall, contact the school. He made mention particularly of, for example, the sleeping bags and the cots and, you know, these sort of things, which is assisting the school, especially for intercall, where the school can, the athletes can camp out. Right. And it's very critical. And I'll probably continue to make that appeal for folks to assist his school in particular, because he made that appeal. And when you think about it too, you know, check on the students having to leave the national stadium, the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, go back to the respective homes. And he's speaking of not just driving there, but having to walk some places. Right. You're talking about 11, almost midnight, and then having to return to the stadium 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, come on. So it makes sense that the school can camp together, and that is what he's hoping. But he will need some assistance in some of the you know, the airbeds and the cots and, you know, all these sort of things that can make the athletes very comfortable, that they can stay together for 2 nights in particular, and you know, and probably maybe even be 3, because they may just probably do a pre-camp thing. Yeah. So if you want to assist, you can probably pick up some or make a little donation so that it can assist the school. But if you're assisting in that area, it would be better if you buy it overseas, because I don't think there's any way they can buy it in Grenada. So some of those things. Yeah. Thank you very much, folks. We're looking a lot like Christmas, I can tell you that. It's the Thanksgiving weekend is approaching. Next weekend, well, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. And then, you know, we head into the Christmas streets. In fact, the radio stations in the New York area officially started to play their Christmas songs yesterday, right? Yeah. It's a week of celebrations for me. You know, my birthday was Wednesday, my wife's birthday was yesterday. Today's our anniversary. You know, celebration continues. So that's why I sort of on a low key, right? Thank you very much, folks. All the best. See you next week, God's willing, for another program in our TalkSports Saturday Sports program. Until then, I do want you to have a very pleasant weekend. Remember, whatever you're doing, please do it with some level of moderation. Until then, have yourself a pleasant weekend.